doing? This is Amber again. Just want to say hello and remind everyone to please subscribe and like my video and pass it on to your friends. And also, if you're interested in my book, the link will be at the bottom, and you can get that also. And from what I understand, it changes your life. So if you want to change your life for the good way, then you may want to buy this. Anyway, just want to let you know that. Okay, I want to talk about something that's important to me, and that's love. I'm going to start with my dad, because my dad was a very loving man. He was a big Irishman with an artistic part of him that was so amazing. He was a pianist, and when he played the piano, you could hear the piano cry. You could hear the piano laugh. You could hear the piano dance. It was the most amazing thing to listen to my father play the piano. When I was a little girl, he played all the time. He wrote songs for each of us. My song that he wrote for me was, "What's a home without a little tot around?" And so he wrote that song for me because I was born and they felt I was a piece of heaven that came to them. And I am, but anyway. So as I grew and I was in college, my father would be home when I got home from college. And I didn't want to go right into studying and doing my homework. And so I say to my dad, "Dad, would you please play some songs for me for a little bit, and I will just lay here on the couch and just rest and absorb the beauty of your music. Can you do that?" He did. And for an hour, hour and a half, he would play all the classicals. He'd play all kinds of stuff for an hour, hour and a half, while I just lay there and went into a different state of just meditation and rest and relaxation. And then when that was over, I was able to get up and then get on to whatever it was that I needed to do. But anyway, that was my dad. My dad was an amazing man. But I wanted to relate a story about who he was. My dad was the campaign chairman for Estes Kefauver and for Stevenson. Stevenson was running for president. Estes Kefauver was running for vice president in 1952 and again in 1956. Both times they lost, but my father was the campaign chairman for the Democratic Party at that time, which he believed in, and they were about going out and helping people and doing things. And so my father, as an Irishman, being a good Democrat, became the campaign chairman for Estes Kefauver and for Stevenson. And he was on the campaign trail in 52, and he was going back out on the campaign trail in for the election in 56, so he was going out in like 54 and 55. And at that time, there wasn't a Catholic person in power within the government. And so the Catholic Church somehow found out that my father was the campaign chairman and knew that his background was Catholic, even though he had married my mom, who was Methodist, and we were all baptized in both churches. My father went to the Methodist church, never went to the Catholic church after that, and eventually he became his own, he sort of developed his own religion. He called it Neo-Philanthropist, where he was studying all the great philosophers and understanding all the great secrets of the universe. And so he was visited by 3 elders of the Catholic Church, a bishop, a cardinal, and a priest. And they came and said, "Marty, we really need a good Catholic in power, who has the ear of a president or a vice president in the office. And we really need someone like that, and you are our man, because we really want to gain power within the political system within the United States." And they said, "So what you need to do is, to prove that you're a good Catholic, you need to come back to the Catholic religion, and you have to take all your children and take them out of public schools, and they have to go and be put into Catholic schools, and they have to go through the catechism, and they have to do all the stuff that's done within the Catholic religion." And my father says, why do I have to do that? I said, because we need to have you shown as a good Catholic. And we don't care what happens to your wife. We don't care what happens to your family at this particular point, except that we want your kids showing up as Catholics also. So her parents, her brothers, sisters, all the people that are related to your wife, we don't care what happens to them. All we care about you and your kids being in the Catholic Church. And so my father said, what if I don't do it? And so they said, well, if you don't do it, we'll destroy you. And my father said, no one will chain the minds of my children. I will not do as you ask. And you will not force me to do this to my children so that you can own their minds and own their lives. That will not happen. And he took the 3 men and threw them out the door and said, never return again. Well, they proceeded to destroy him in the pulpit of the Catholic Church. My father had an appliance business in Newark, New Jersey, and it was a community of Catholic and Methodist, but in the Catholic Church, the priest got up and said that Martin Rafferty was an anathema and was excommunicated from the Catholic Church, and no one was to buy anything from his store from this day on because of the fact that he was not a good Catholic and he was a very bad man. And so my father's business went down very rapidly, and my parents had to sell our house. We were living in a very wealthy neighborhood in South Orange, and my father and mother sold the house, and we all moved to Newark over my father's store. Now the interesting thing about that is that not living in the city before this and not living over a store, you have no idea what is in an apartment that you're going to live in. And so we moved in to this apartment over my father's store. What they didn't realize is because of all the cardboard and because of everything that was in his appliance store that was shipped to him, there were roaches and water bugs. And so we went from this 3-story big home in a very wealthy neighborhood to an apartment over my father's store. And when we walked into the kitchen at night, roaches and water bugs, thousands of them, ran up the walls. And it was a harrowing experience, my entire family. I was young, I was only 5, so I didn't know. But from that point on, my mother had to have a person come in and spray our house once a month. And of course, at that point, they used DDT. So spray our house with DDT once a month so that we could keep that down. Later on, my mom was talking to one of the priests, probably about 5 years later, and from that church, he said, some of us in the Catholic Church are ashamed of what was done to your family. It was an attempt to destroy your relationship with your husband and to destroy your family and your children. And we realize that God did not allow that because your family didn't get destroyed. In fact, your family pulled together and your family became stronger. And we just want you to know how happy all of us are that that happened for your family. Well, my sister went on to get a master's in teaching, and she was one of the best teachers in New Jersey. Kids loved her. She took all the kids that had problems and she made them whole, lifted them up. And my brother developed the artificial heart that's used now in 95% of the heart operations throughout the world. It's called a biopump. And he saved millions of people's lives, 50 million, he told me. And my sister Sonny created the second biggest HMO in Chicago. And my brother Marty, who was my youngest brother, became manager of a city, and hundreds of people loved him. And when he died very young of a massive heart attack. When he died, hundreds and hundreds of people came to his funeral. So And I, a completely different path. I have an engineering degree. I have 3 degrees, undergraduate degrees in writing a book and other things, but went on more of a spiritual journey than I did a worldly journey. And so here we are, talking, you and I. So that was the story of my dad and the love that he had for every member of our family, and how much he felt it was important not to chain the minds of his children, and that he was willing to lose a fortune, to lose his business, to lose everything in love of his kids and his family. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you today because sometimes we forget how important family is. We forget how important communicating is and connecting. And with the cell phones and everyone doing this all the time, people don't sit down at dinner and just communicate and talk and share what's happening in their life. That was part of our dinner every night. My father would come in, my mother, and all of us, and we'd sit down at the table, and my mother would say right off the bat, Martin, tonight, do not bring up any topic that's going to create a big discussion. Let's have a peaceful dinner. And then my father would start on a topic, and every single member of the family had an opinion on it. And everyone wanted to give their opinion at the same time. And he loved it. And he made more. Tell me more about what you're thinking. Tell me more about what are your thoughts on this idea. And the whole dinner table would be, whoa, the energy would be like really wild. And then we'd finish dinner, and my mother would say, Martin, you said you weren't going to do that. Oh, I couldn't help myself. I really want these kids to grow. I want them to think about life and about everything. So anyway, that was my family life. That's what happened for me. And I would suggest that maybe every night when you sit down with your children and your husband, that all of you leave your cell phones away from the dining room table. And every night, make a time when it's just you and the family. And you spend time getting to know each other, creating the relationship and communicating. Because love comes from communication. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you for this journey, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Bye.